marked rise in LSD cases admitted for care. Protest against US participation in Vietnam War mounts. The weather grew cold, but there was no. First Avenue shops were selling Christmas trees, and the continental restaurants were bright with holiday lighting. On 72nd, the Retailers Association erected tall red poles with green tinsel Christmas trees. The top of the trees on both sides of the street sprouted tinsel gardens that spanned the street and joined in red tinsel stars surrounded by colored lights. Although Srila Prabhupada did no Christmas shopping, he visited many bookstores, Orientalia, Sam Weiser's Doubleday, The Paragon, and others, trying to sell his Srimad Bhagavatam. Mrs. Ferber, the wife of the Paragon Book Gallery proprietor, considered Prabhupada a pleasant and extremely polite small gentleman. The first time he called, she wasn't interested in his books, but he tried again, and she took several volumes. Prabhupada used to stop by about once a week, and since his books were selling regularly, he would collect. Sometimes, when he needed copies to sell personally, he would come by and pick them up from Mrs. Feber, and sometimes he would phone to ask her how his books were selling. Mrs. Ferber. Every time he came, he would ask for a glass of water. If a customer would make such a request, I would ordinarily say, "There is a water cooler." But because he was an old man, I couldn't tell him that, of course. He was very polite, always, very modest, and a great scholar. So whenever he would ask, I would fetch him a cup of water personally. Once Prabhupada was talking with Mrs. Ferber about Indian cuisine, and she mentioned that she especially liked samosas. The next time he paid her a visit, he brought her a tray of samosas, which she enjoyed. Harvey Cohen came often to room 501 to visit the Swami who had so impressed him at Ananda Ashram. Harvey. The room he occupied was a tiny office in the back of the Yoga Society in uptown Manhattan. I began to go there regularly, and we sat facing each other on the floor in this little office with his typewriter and a new tape recorder on top of two suitcases. And there was a box of books he brought from India and a color reproduction of dancing figures, which he looked at often. I told Swami Bhaktivedanta that I was an artist, and he asked me to please paint the picture of the dancers, which he explained was of Lord Chaitanya and his disciples. The painting was called Sankirtan. When I came to visit him, Swami would always be happy to see me. I told him myself, and we chanted Hare Krishna together in his room many nights that winter. I would get the train uptown from my apartment to go to see him. January 11, 1966. Prime Minister Lal Bahadur Shastri died of a heart attack while visiting Russia. The Prime Minister had been a personal acquaintance of Srila Prabhupada in India and an admirer of his Srimad Bhagavatam translation. He had been scheduled to visit America, and Prabhupada had expected to obtain a personal sanction from him for the release of funds from India. His untimely death was a great upset in Srila Prabhupada's plan to purchase the building at 143 West 72nd Street. The realtors had showed him the building, and he had already mentally designed the interior for deity worship and distribution of prasadam. The money was to come from India, and Prime Minister Shastri was to give personal sanction for the release of funds. But suddenly that was all changed. January 14th, Prabhupada decided to write to the owner of the building, Mr. A.M. Hartman. He explained how his plans had been upset, and he posted a new plan. Now the Prime Minister, Mr. Lal Bahadur Shastri, is suddenly dead, and I'm greatly perplexed. As there is now difficulty for getting money from India, I'm requesting you to allow me to use the place for the International Institution for God Consciousness, at least for some time. The house is lying vacant for so many days without any use, and I learned it that you are paying the taxes, insurance, and other charges for the house, although you have no income from there. If you, however, allow this place for this public institution, you shall at least save the taxes and other charges which you are paying now for nothing. If I can start the institution immediately, certainly I shall be able to get sympathy locally. And in that case, I may not be required to get money from India. I'm also requesting that Your Honor become one of the directors of this public institution because you will have a place to start the institution. Mr. A.M. Hartman wasn't interested. On the same day he wrote Mr. Hartman, Prabhupada received a letter from Sir Padampat Singhania, the director of the very large JK organization in India. Prabhupada had written Sir Padamjati for Padam Pathji for financial support, and his reply gave him hope. Not only was the Singhania family fabulously wealthy, but its members were devotees of Lord Krishna. My dear Swamiji, I have gone through your letter. I'm very glad to note your idea of erecting a Sri Radha Krishna temple in New York. I think the proposal is a good one, but the following are the difficulties. One, we have got to we have got to send foreign exchange for building the temple, for which government sanction is required. Without the government sanction, no money can be sent abroad. If the government of India agrees, then one can think of erecting the temple in New York. Two, I doubt whether the small amount of 7 lakhs, 110,000, a temple can be built in New York. I mean to carry out a nice construction with Indian type of architecture. To get a temple completed in India type of architecture, we have to send a man from India. These are the two main difficulties. Otherwise, your idea is very good. Srila Prabhupada and Mr. Sangania had a basic disagreement. A magnificent Indian temple in New York would cost many millions of dollars to construct. Prabhupada knew, of course, that if Padampat Singhania wanted, he could provide millions of dollars. But then how would they get so much money out of India? Prabhupada therefore again suggested that they spend only 7 lakhs. After purchasing the house, he wrote, we can build another story upon it with a temple dome, chakra, etc. Prabhupada had his own line of reasoning. Lord Dwarkadish exhibited his opulence at Dwarka with 16,000 queens, and it is understood that he built a palace for each and every queen. And the palaces were made with jewels and stones so that there was no necessity for artificial light in the palaces. So, your conception of building a temple of Lord Krishna is opulence, but we are residents of Vrindavan, and Vrindavan has no palaces like your Dwarka. Vrindavan is full of forests and cows on the bank of Jamuna, and Lord Krishna in his childhood played the part of a cowherd boy without any royal opulence as you people, the inhabitants of Dwarka, are accustomed. So when the Dwarka Valas meet the Vrindavan Valas, they may be via media. With Sir Padamjit, Dwarka's like wealth and Srila Prabhupada's Vrindavan like devotion, Lord Krishna, the Lord of both Vrindavan and Dwarka, could be properly worshipped. Okay, so we can stop here. So now Prabhupada is in New York. We can see that he's making the connections now. He's already like giving the books to the library to sell that. And now he's also getting ready to have a temple built. I'm just amazed, actually, realization. I'm just amazed that one thing is Srila Prabhupada is, definitely Krishna's soldier, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's soldier sent directly here. So everybody keeps commenting on how pure he is and how they all love his association and they're so attracted to him. So you can tell that he is not an ordinary person, right? That's that. And along with that, he is so knowledgeable, like in general dealings too. Sometimes I think, when we see devotees, right, to give somebody who's very high up there, like transcendental, pure, and all that, I'm not sure if in the worldly things they are so knowledgeable too, but look at him. Like he's so knowledgeable. He knows exactly who to contact, who's the connection, who can make things happen. So Prabhupada is highly intelligent. So that is also something that just, comes across when we read this pastimes about how Srila Prabhupada very nicely, strategically, he's able to do all of this. And again, none of this is like for Prabhupada's own own need or anything, right? But Prabhupada emphasized very clearly, I'm not going to America for myself, but I'm here to give the knowledge of Krishna, give the love of Krishna, spread Krishna consciousness. So just very inspiring reading every day Srila Prabhupada's, this Lilamrita is very inspiring